Unexpectedly, I landed an interview with fellow military brat and U.S. Ambassador to Vietnam, Mark Knapper. The ambassador traveled from Hanoi, Vietnam's capital, to meet at this beach on the outskirts of the city. Not just because it's beautiful, but because this spot was pivotal in the war.
This is a very historic site upon which we're standing. This is where the story of the Marine Corps in Vietnam began.
Talk to me about what the history of this beach is.
March 8th, 1965, here at what was known as Red Beach, the first U.S. Marines landed here in Vietnam.
Their landing is at a beach north of Da Nang, where they will guard the American jet airfield against attack by Viet Cong guerrillas and infiltrators.
It was the first significant deployment of U.S. combat troops to Vietnam.
They land in full battle gear, but meet no opposition from the guerrillas known to be in the area. Others of the 3,500 Marines are to come by air transport.
Within months, additional troops were landing up and down the coast. One thing was clear: American soldiers were here to stay and fight.
My father came about a year later. He spent a couple months in that direction as a company commander with the Marine Corps, and he talked quite often about his experience here. And so now, in one generation, to have gone from my dad as a combatant to now serving here as ambassador as his son, it's hard to describe. It's a family story that traces the arc of the history of our two countries' ties, from foes now to friends to partners. It's an honor of a lifetime to be serving here now.
We recently both lost our fathers. Did he get to see what you do here in Vietnam before he passed?
He did come, initially with some nervousness. He just wasn't sure what kind of reception he would receive.
And what kind of reception did he receive?
They were just so welcoming, and it just melted his heart, and I think he realized that it was the right thing to do to come back.
I've run into military brats like you and me. Do you think that we're also drawn to this?
I think it's in our DNA to remember the sacrifices of those who were shoulder to shoulder with your father, with my father, as they entered harm's way on behalf of their country.
I'm not surprised that you turned out to be an ambassador and I turned out to be a really curious journalist.
I just grew up in this environment in which curiosity about the world around us meant something, in which public service meant something, and so that's how I ended up here.
A lot of what we shoot has red communist flags in it. What is communism here?
Well, I mean, we, the United States, part of our policy, we're very clear that we support a strong, independent, prosperous and resilient Vietnam, that we support Vietnam's territorial integrity, that we support Vietnam's sovereignty. We respect Vietnam as it is, just as they respect the United States and our system as it is. One of the ways that we and Vietnam were able to address our own immediate past was through the search for missing Americans. And over 35 years now, we and the Vietnamese have been looking for fallen American servicemen. We've managed to recover and identify 735 Americans, but there's still more than 1,200 who remain unaccounted for, but the mission goes on.
The Vietnamese are part of that process.
It's an incredible act of humanity that they have done with us, for us over many years, and we now ourselves are working with Vietnam to help them identify their own fallen from the war.
So powerful. Talk to me about that process.
These are teams that spend weeks out in the field after really just painstaking research to try and identify the site of, for example, a helicopter crash or a plane crash. They will drain lakes, they will take the tops off mountains to ensure that no one gets left behind.
And so I'm talking with the ambassador, and all of a sudden Cameron, his attaché, his spokesperson, leans in with his phone, and there's breaking news.
Turns out just the other day, we had a remains identification from back in March. The individual identified was a Marine Captain Forrester, and his family has been notified.
Wow, how about that?
This is literally breaking news.
That is amazing. So what are the next steps for his family?
So, yeah, it's up to the family what they want to do. I imagine
what does it tell you? Can you tell us what it says? In the winter of 1972, Forrester was assigned to Marine All-Weather Attack Squadron 533. After entering the target area, Forrester's aircraft ceased radio communications and never returned to base. So December 27, 1972, he lost his life. And today, we know who he is. Every time we are able to successfully do this, identify remains, reunite them with family, we can't help but get emotional, especially given the lives our
fathers led and the
Amen.
countries they served and their service to our nation. No, it's a big deal.
Ambassador, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bring warmth to my heart.
Oh, that's kind of you to say. Thank you.